fuck you, Artea. I don't even make money off your videos. And it's not because I'm bad at trading, it's your fault. Teach me better.
Alright, Eddie. This one's for you, man. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another one of my quarterly gold guide videos. Sure, there are an infinite amount of ways to make gold in ESO, but with every patch, new things are implemented, some things are changed altogether, and thus new gold making opportunities appear. These videos aim to discuss just that. Specifically, I'll be drawing attention to a handful of items that you should consider attaining if your intention is to indeed sell them for gold, given the fact that they'll be in demand, either because they're new items or old items made new because of some change in this update. There isn't all that much to talk about, seeing as this is a dungeon DLC patch, but there are still a few things worth mentioning. Let's talk about the new stuff first, because that shit's exciting, right? 20 new structural furnishing plans can now be obtained from the Deadlands reward coffers that you receive from doing the World Boss and Delve Dailies found in Fargrave. As always, these plans can sell for a whole lot on my platform during the first few days of their initial release, given how much hype there is for them and how little of them there are available for purchase on the traders. While the prices for these plans will inevitably falter as more players complete these dailies and get their hands on these new plans, it's safe to say that Fargrave dailies are among the most profitable dailies to partake in at the moment. I would definitely get to farming these if you haven't already. These new Fargrave furnishings require ancient sandstones, among other standard furnishing materials, in order to be crafted. These sandstones can be found in some reward chests for group events in Craglorn, as well as treasure chests in the same zone. They can also be dropped by Delve bosses and Celestial Rift bosses in Craglorn. The Hughes Bane set Savara Scales is also of the Raw Goddess style, so if you have any spare Savaras that you don't plan on selling, you may as well decon these for a chance to receive some ancient sandstones. As you can see here, I was able to sell some stacks of 200 sandstones for around 500k gold each. Like all of the other items that are experiencing an extreme demand right now, the prices for these will surely decline at the same rate as the hype for their plans does. But it's still worth noting that these once worthless style mats have been forever changed. They now have an additional value besides being used to craft Ragada gear. This change in usage will subsequently change their prices permanently. I think that this predicament also brings up a valuable practice. Style materials of all kinds should always be held onto and not tossed aside. Perhaps you may have once taken a look through your craft bag, looking for something to sell for gold, and a stack of random style mats may have caught your eye. If ever this is the case, I strongly urge you to not sell those style materials. While they may not be good for anything other than crafting gear of a specific style in the moment, you never know when they may suddenly be integral to the creation of new furnishings. While you may be able to sell a stack of style mats that aren't needed for furnishings now for 100 gold per unit, you never know when they may be worth 2,500 gold per unit or more. Just from taking a look at some of these other style mats, I can definitely see how some of them could eventually be integrated into furnishing plans in the future, such as crocodile leather or argent pelt. It's best that you hang on to all your style mats, just in case. The Mastercraft mediator has 7 new furnishing plans that are available for purchase. Given the fact that these items are also new, they have sold for a sizable sum of gold. As per usual, a handful of furnishing plans that the Mastercraft mediator previously sold have been given to his assistant Faustina Curio, and are available for the reduced price of 100 RIP vouchers each. These are the plans that are next in line to be added to their own folio. Some other furnishing plans have also been bundled up into a folio worth 700 RIP vouchers. Whenever this happens, on my platform anyways, I've observed that the prices for some of these individual plans tend to experience a gradual increase, given the fact that they're a little trickier to receive now. For example, you can't merely purchase 10 ERP bathtub plans to sell for gold anymore. Instead, if you want one, you need to buy the entire damn folio with a singular Hlalu bathtub plan in it, which costs 700 RIP vouchers. You may be able to see how this would affect the prices of those specific sought-after plans, and it may be something worth considering every time there's a turnover in furnishing plans. If there's a particular plan that it's about to get folioed that you think people will really like, perhaps it's worthwhile to invest in it so that you may sell it once it becomes so much more difficult to attain. You can also now purchase a Blackwood Master Furnishers document with RIP vouchers. Like all the other Master Furnishers documents, these can yield an assortment of purple plans that are specific to the Blackwood zone. This will render the notion of farming furnishing plans in Blackwood less valuable than it used to be, as the prices for these plans will plummet, but it will at least provide another opportunity to convert RIP vouchers into gold. We will have a couple festivals in Update 33, such as the iconic Jesters Festival and the Jubilee Festival. As always, partaking in these festival activities and selling festival loot is a great means to make gold. Any cottagecore enjoyers in the chat? The new First Seed style pages that will drop from the reward boxes in this upcoming Jesters Festival will surely satiate that thirst for this kind of aesthetic. No doubt these style pages will sell well, especially the chest style. I've heard rumors in my trading guilds that the Cadwell and Regal Regalia styles will not be returning to the game this year, and that their prices are bound to increase. While these styles will not be made available for purchase with event tickets from the Impresario this year, they will indeed still be dropping, but only from the daily stupendous reward box. I can see how this notion would increase the prices of these items nonetheless, and who knows, maybe they won't return at all next year. This event is such a great moneymaker. I highly recommend that you partake in the Jubilee Festival and earn as many Jubilee reward boxes as you can. You'll be heavily rewarded with materials, motifs, furnishing plans, and other valuable goodies. I personally enjoy hanging on to these items to sell way down the road, but there's no harm in selling these items now for some gold in the moment. One new style page that you'll be able to receive this year from this event is the Saberkeel armor style. Usually I do recommend selling and investing in these event exclusive styles, but if you know anything about Jubilee events, you know that the supply of style pages that drop from them is cracked because everyone's spending more time spamming event objectives than they're spending time with their loved ones IRL. But speaking of these Jubilee styles, the Notorious Companion styles, the Jeffrin Paladin styles, and the Imperial Champion weapon styles will not be returning as items that drop from Jubilee reward boxes this year. They will, however, be available for purchase from the Impresario for 2 tickets via the Bag of Jubilee yesteryear. As is the case with all Impresario RNG bags, the items that you receive from these are bound and likewise not tradable. The Worm Cult motif style will also be locked behind this bound RNG bag. Unbound variants will not be dropping from reward boxes. You know what that means. If you have an unbound iteration of these now bound styles, those may be worth more than they ever have been in previous years, as new players that weren't around for these previous events seek to get their hands on these styles without having to spend precious event tickets. I can see this especially being the case for the Worm Cult styles and these style pages like the Sai Sahan Jack, since they look really nice. Hybrid builds are arguably as viable as they've ever been, and this is especially the case in PvP. Consider selling consumables that complement this playstyle, such as Orzorga's Smoked Bear Haunch and the Jewels of Misrule. The recipe for Orzorga's Smoked Bear Haunch can be obtained by completing the quest given by Orzorga near the Morkelton Forge in Rothgar, or you can buy it from the guild traders. The recipe for the Jewels of Misrule can also be purchased from the traders, but it will be able to drop from reward coffers during the Jesters Festival. Every time you earn 20,000 alliance points from participating in PvP activities, you'll receive a rewards for the worthy coffer in the mail. These coffers can drop a variety of sets, some of which you are likely very familiar with. In Ascending Tide, a handful of new sets have been added to these coffers. As is the case whenever any new items are added to the game, there's this initial spike in interest for these new sets, so be sure to take advantage of this and price your new wares accordingly. Friendship with Robes of Transmutation ended. Rallying Cry is my new best friend. This set procs off of a critical heal. Upon doing so, you and up to 11 other group members within 12 meters receive an amount of weapon and spell damage and critical resistances that scale with how many gamers from your group are affected with this. This buff lasts for 20 seconds and can proc every 15. Holy, that uptime though. I believe that this set will be quintessential in most 4-man or small-scale groups. It'll very likely replace Transmutation in many instances where it would previously be used, given the fact that it can provide a similar amount of crit resistances as well as a buff to weapon and spell damage, something Transmutation couldn't do. Pair this with a DD wearing Olorime, another wearing Powerful Assault, and you've got yourself a very well-oiled machine. The uptime on the buff from this set is also incredibly generous. As someone who plays support for small-scale PvP, who was around when the devs absolutely shitted and farted on transmutation, nerfing the amount of crit resist it gave as well as its uptime drastically, I find the creation of this set to be very surprising. I look forward to being able to wear this set, but I'm skeptical that it may one day receive the treatment that transmutation did. But for the time being, I'd imagine that most supports will want to get their hands on this set, so I see no reason why it shouldn't sell for a lot. Not to mention the fact that this is also just a great set for solo PvP as well. This set will also be dropping from rewards of the worthy coffers. When you deal damage with a heavy attack, either a fully charged one or a medium weave, you gain an amount of penetration that scales with however many enemies within 8 meters of your target there are. While sets like Stoons or Spriggans will provide you with more pen against 1 or 2 players, this set will be amazing for fights where you're attacking multiple targets at once, such as Zergs and Cyrodiil or a whole stacked lobby in Battlegrounds. This is definitely a set to keep your eye on, as a lot of PvPers have expressed their interest in incorporating the set into their builds. If you're interested in the PvE side of things, I would highly recommend checking out Nephis and Skinny Cheek's YouTube channels and websites. Even if you and all your homies hate PvE, it may very well benefit you to have a rough idea of what gear PvEers are using every patch. You may just be able to spot a nice gold earning opportunity, whether it's farming overland content for gear to sell, or crafting gear to sell yourself, or randomly receiving gear as a result of questing in certain zones. In one of his latest videos, Mr. Cheeks discusses some of the better DPS sets to use in ESO Ascending Tide that can be attained without having to farm, meaning these sets are not bind on pickup. They can indeed be purchased and likewise sold. This resource on his website provides a brief summary of the video in the form of a list, with of course some other relevant information. If you take a look at the craftable or buyable column, you'll likely see some familiar sets. I've talked about a lot of these before in previous videos, but hey, if you didn't know about these, you may want to consider acquiring them to sell. I will say though, because of how the sticker book and smart RNG work together, I think it will take an especially long time before the prices of sets that drop from zones that have recently had celebration events return to normal. We'll likely have to wait until a whole new crowd of players who likewise wouldn't have their sticker books complete populate the game before some of these sets can be sold for reasonable amounts. And who knows if these sets will withstand the tests of time and even remain relevant in the future. For example, Skinny recommends Frostbite gear for those that play Frost Wardens. When this set was first added to the game, it sold relatively well. I guess ESO has a lot of Frost Mage enjoyers, who would have guessed. After the Bounties of Blackwood event, an event that encouraged gameplay in Blackwood, the zone that drops Frostbite gear, the prices of Frostbite dropped faster than my IQ every time I read the ESO forums. Prices for Frostbite have yet to recover, even almost a year later. Who knows, perhaps this may very well happen to other sets that have saturated the market as a result of events as well. You might want to keep this in mind as a seller. Of course, sets with greater demand, something that can be heavily encouraged by build videos, can help remedy this, as is the case with Briarheart, for example, as it remains a frequently recommended set. I don't know if you caught it, but Plague Break, one of the sets that you can receive from your Rewards of the Worthy mails, made this top DPS list. I feel like players are increasingly being made aware of the fact that this set is actually pretty strong for trash DPS. While you're likely already familiar with selling variants of this set that would synergize well with PvP builds such as Impen or well-fitted gear, you may want to consider selling this gear in Divines as well. And that's all for this video. For more updates on what to sell this patch, you should definitely join my Discord server. I'll leave a link to it in the description. A particular genre of comment that I've been receiving more regularly than I'd like in recent times revolves around the notion of asking for an only— can I even say that word, or is Susan Wojcicki gonna kick my ass? While this kind of comment serves as a bleak reminder that we are indeed living in a society, if you're looking to give me money, you can support me instead by buying me coffees or subscribing to my membership program. I'm afraid that there is no ERP involved, but your support really helps me out, as I do dedicate a lot of time and effort into making these videos. Sleep? Never heard of her, it sounds kind of cringe to be honest. I'd like to thank my current YouTube members for sponsoring this content, and of course, all of you for watching this video. Alright, catch you gamers in the next one. Cheers.
John Cena eats Bing Chilling.